And personally, I think there are more rewards than there are in the workforce. Most of the feminists I debated in the 70s who were peddling this line don't have any grandchildren. I don't have grandchildren today. And they made their choice, and I'm happy with the choice I made, but they're not happy with the choice they made, and they blame it on me. So they're really mad at me for still telling the truth about this. I think that feminism is really incompatible with marriage and motherhood because it's constantly teaching the country and the judges and the social workers and the men that men are naturally battlers and women are naturally victims, and the home is a dirty place. It makes women into second-class citizens. And there are probably some young women here tonight who think that feminism has evolved, has changed. But just a few weeks ago, Gloria Steinem gave a speech that I watched on C-SPAN at some university, and it's the same old line, that she thinks that marriage is an unequal proposition, and the questioner said, but you got married. Of course, she had an abortion when she was in years that she could have children, and she got married after she was 60. But she told the TV audience that, well, yes, she did get married, but she was really just trying to help this man with his visa, and so he could come on her health insurance because he had a health problem. And she has not retreated a bit from her views that marriage is a bad deal for women. And then the feminists realized that some women did want to get married and have children anyway. They put forth the line that they could have it all. And unfortunately, they told them they could have it all at the same time. Now, I think I've had it all, but I didn't have it all at the same time. I guess in the modern parlance, I'm what they call a sequential woman. I spent 25 years raising my children, and then after they're off to college and elsewhere, I've got time to run around and talk to nice audiences like you. I didn't do that in the years when I had babies in diapers. It is possible to do it all at the same time, but it's very difficult. And I think the world is full of choices, and it's up to everybody to make your own choice of what you really want out of life. I think that feminism is incompatible with happiness. It is really based on identifying grievances and exaggerating them. If you will read the resolutions passed by the National Organization for Women, they have constantly endorsed a technique that is called consciousness raising. And their way that they build their ranks is to get together a group of women, and then they exchange their horror stories about how some man has treated them. And grievances are like flowers. If you water them, they will grow. And so little grievances grow into big grievances, and sometimes they can make grievances out of what really wasn't anything to complain about in the first place. So it's the big problem with feminism is the attitude. The attitude that society is unfair and somebody owes it to you to make it up to you for the evils of this patriarchal society. And I think that is extremely unfortunate. Now, when you look at what their policies and their proposals have been to the workforce, of course they are for affirmative action to get women in the job. Because they start out saying there really isn't any difference and women can do anything men can do, but they demand affirmative action to get women in the jobs. And then they have developed a theory called comparable worth. And when you hear these women talking on television about we need equal pay for equal work, you think to yourself, we have had the law that requires equal pay for equal work since 1963. That was even before the Equal Rights Amendment was voted out. So the Equal Rights Amendment never had anything to do with employment laws, because the employment laws were already sex neutral. So when you hear them talk about that, what they really mean is their notion called comparable work. Now what that means is they want to set up a federal commission called the Comparable Worth Commission, which would be staffed, of course, by feminists, who would then make their subjective evaluation of jobs that are held mostly by women and compare them to jobs that are held mostly by men, and then assign a point structure to them and come out with the solution that the nurse is worth the same as the electrician, even though he has risks in his job, even though he may only work seasonally or whatever, and they pay no attention to the difficulties of the environment. You know, most of the occupational fatalities and injuries in this country are suffered by men. They're not suffered by women. That is not because men are clumsier than women. It's because men are willing to take a lot of these dangerous, unpleasant jobs that women won't take at any price. But the feminists want a Comparable Worth Commission to order the pay raises for all women's jobs and reduce or hold steady the pay of all the men. Now, fortunately, they have not been able to get by with that very offensive notion. They've lost in legislatures, they've lost in the courts on that, but they keep trying. And when they talk about equal pay for equal work, that is really what they mean. Or when they talk about pay equity, that is what they mean. They want government to come in and raise the pay of the women. Basically, they want wage control. Now, this country has experimented with wage control in the past, and the American people don't like it. We want the government to stay out of the area of deciding what wages should be in this country. I conclude that feminism is not compatible with the private enterprise system. Whatever their problem is, whatever they stake out as something that needs a solution, they always want government to provide the remedy. It is a big government ideology. Conservatives believe in individual responsibility and the private enterprise system. But the feminists always want government to solve their problems for them. They have personal problems, they try to make it a societal problem, and then they want government to solve it. For example, you need a job, they want the government to get you an affirmative action quota job. You don't meet the physical requirements. They espouse a new concept in our society called gender norming. And this is particularly used in the military and in some of the physical labor jobs. That is, they may give the test to the women, but they don't score them the same. And my man might get a C for a performance that the woman would only get would get an A for. And you see this very widespread in the military. The women do not have to go over the obstacles at the same rate as the men. They don't have to do the push-ups with the same number as the men. Of course, they can't do the chin-ups at all. They call that, for the woman, they call it a flexed arm hang. And they found that the women can't even throw a hand grenade far enough to keep from killing herself. And of course, 10% of them are pregnant at any one time. So, but this is accomplished by the technique called gender norming. Now, you're not satisfied with your salary, then they want the government Comparable Worth Commission to give you a raise. The feminists want a promotion. They want another commission called the Glass Ceiling Commission to order your law firm to make you a partner or to give you a raise. And you might know that probably one of the most successful business women in the country, who got the highest salary and the biggest departure pay, Carly Fiorina of Hewlett Packard, has said right out, there is no glass ceiling. You do the work, you get the job. You need time off to care for a sick child. They want the government to require your employer to give you family leave. And one of the big issues coming up, if the Democrats continue with their majority in Congress next year will be to require all employers to give paid family leave, so you can take time off at any time.